Welcome back. I'm David Gura. A new name has emerged as a fourth contender for the vacant Supreme Court seat ahead of President Trump's pick on Monday night. Judge Thomas Hardiman is now on the short list. That is according to the New York Times. Judge Hardiman served on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals in Philadelphia with President Trump's older sister, Judge Marianne Trump Barry. Barry recommended Judge Hardiman last year to Mr. Trump as a good choice for the Supreme Court. Well, this is happening as Democratic senators in red states running for re-election face a tough decision on whether to vote for or against the president's pick. Joining me now is Robert Barnes, who covers the High Court for the Washington Post, and Hugh Hewitt, who hosts the Hugh Hewitt Show. He's also an MSNBC contributor. Hugh, let me start with you and this news being reported by the New York Times. You had thrown your support Judge Kethledge, the Michigander. This is what I read in that New York Times piece today about Judge Hardiman. People close to the process said the president had found him likable but comparatively dull, and some conservatives whose support has guided Mr. Trump's thinking about the courts have voiced concern about Judge Kethledge on issues like immigration. Let me get your reaction to that, and what does that tell you about the process the president is using here to pick the next justice of the Supreme Court?
Well, good afternoon, David. I think the president has done a masterful job of setting up a huge audience and a lot of suspense for whomever he introduces the American public tomorrow night. And that is a big win for getting some momentum out of the blocks for your nominee. What he's got to be careful about is having a spin out, a Harriet Miers kind of disaster because of unvetted or late arriving concerns about a nominee, or the worst of all worlds, David Souter, a replay of 1990. This case, John Sununu being played by Rick Santorum vis-a-vis Judge Hardiman. I still continue to believe that the nominee who will put the most points on the board, get the most Democratic votes and confirmed easily, is Raymond Kethledge. I don't know any of these nominees, but he touches religious liberty. He is very solid on the Second Amendment. He has a concealed carry permit, after all. And he is a property rights enthusiast and against the administrative state. So I still think I wouldn't write off Raymond Kethledge. I wouldn't be surprised if the president was actually head-faking the New York Times.
Robert Barnes, on that point, I guess the question is, what do we really know at this point? To Hugh's point, the president wants to have this big reveal. He did that with Neil Gorsuch during the first year of his presidency. He's trying to do that again. When you look at the gamesmanship, when you look at the politics surrounding this, how is this crucible different from what you've seen in the past when presidents have put forth nominees?
Well, you know, you have to sort of separate other presidents from this president, yes. I think. And this president, as Hugh said, very much wants a big reveal. He got that with Gorsuch. You'll remember that he kept it fairly quiet until just before the announcement. I think that he likes all the speculation about it. You know, our reporters are hearing the same thing about Hardiman, that the president's been asking a lot of questions and talking about him this weekend while he's in New Jersey. But, you know, I think that there are four finalists, and I think that we'll see a lot of jockeying back and forth as the supporters of those people, you know, try to make their points and see who can get his ear. This was, of course, the subject of some debate on the Sunday shows today. Let's take a listen to what the senior senator from South Carolina, Senator Lindsey Graham, had to say about this.
This is a nightmare for red state Democrats to oppose a highly qualified nominee, and all four of these people are highly qualified, been on the court, know what they're doing, mainstream judges, so red state Democrats are going to have a very hard decision.
Let's tick through a couple of them. Senator Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota, the president has been there recently. Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Senator Joe Donnelly of Indiana as well. You could expand this a little bit, maybe talk about the role that Michigan's senior senator might play in all of this. Hugh Hewitt, help me understand the political parameters of this. We don't have a nominee yet, and yet we've seen a lot of lobbying on Capitol Hill already. The New York Times reporting that the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, is backing either two candidates, Raymond Kethledge or Thomas Hardiman, suggesting that they would have an easier path to confirmation. Help us understand the divide in the Republican Party here when it comes to this short list.
It's the key question, David. You've got to make sure that Senators Collin and Murkowski do not lead. You can't take points off the board, and they will be very hard-pressed to vote against either Judge Kethledge or Judge Hardiman, I believe. On the other hand, how do you get Heidi Heitkamp, Joe Manchin, John Tester under the most pressure, Claire McCaskill? I think that goes back to Kethledge and Hardiman again, and I think it is easiest to lose one of the two Republicans with Judge Barrett because she's the bench and has had the spark up with Dianne Feinstein. It is easiest to bring Democrats with Judge Ketledge. I'm afraid you might have the base spin on Hardiman and on Kavanaugh. So that's why I keep coming back to Ketledge.
Robert Barnes, last question to you just about diversity on the bench. Everyone sitting on the Supreme Court bench right now went to either Harvard Law School or Yale Law School. There's been some indication the president might be interested in pulling somebody from another school, perhaps Judge Ketledge, of course, a Wolverine. He went to Michigan for his undergraduate and his J.D. degree as well. Judge Barrett, of course, went to Rhodes College in Tennessee, I believe. How important is that? How does that manifest itself on the bench over the years when you have people who've come from different parts of the country or different educational backgrounds?
Well, I think that what you see is when their backgrounds are very different, they're very different. I don't know that what law school they went to made much of a difference. I mean, Justice Thomas and Justice Sotomayor both went to Yale Law School. I don't think that you would say that their decisions on the court make you think that they were taught one thing at Yale and that's what they have put forward. So I guess I don't put that much stock in that. The president last time was very proud of Justice Gorsuch's Ivy League credentials. And so I think it's who gets along, who the president feels most comfortable with, not where they went to school.
Great to speak with both of you. Valuable perspective from both of you. Robert Barnes, who covers the Supreme Court for the Washington Post. My thanks to Hugh Hewitt for his eponymous radio show as well. Hugh, thank you very much for the time.